Thank you for clicking on the video. I'm Cal Cope. Won't you like and subscribe and enjoy the video? Well, welcome again to How Love Can Last Forever After All. I'm your host, Cal Cope. So glad you could be with us again. We are now in the fourth episode of this series where we're talking about how do we reveal our understanding of how we see relationship. And today we want to talk about specifically how do we validate the process. So you've got to understand that relationship transformation, it is not an instant thing. Studies of emotional regulations and process-orientated growth confirms that sustainable change requires time, self-compassion, and emotional endurance. This stage normalizes the discomfort that occupies the real development. You've got to understand that it's going to take time. One of my favorite books is Changes That Heal. And in this book, it talks about how the three components needed for healing is truth, grace, and time. Truth, grace, and time. And so it's important for you to understand that oftentimes when you learn the truth about your circumstances and you learn the truth about your situation and you learn the truth about the dysfunctions that exist in your life, oftentimes you're going to find the part that you played in it, that you thought were the proper responses, but the truth reveals to you, that really wasn't going to get me to the desired destination. That the familiarity of how things have been done in your life doesn't line up with the truth of you trying to get to a healthy relationship that embraces your growth, your peace, your stability. It is the challenge of getting away from, well, this is just the way we've always done it. But when you think about that statement, what you are really exposing is the fact that you want to stay in what's familiar. But this validating your process, this stage is so important in normalizing the discomfort that accompanies the real development. There's going to be some level of discomfort. You know, when you're in school and you are deferring your gratification because you want to get whichever degree it is, a BA, a master's, a PhD, there's going to be times of discomfort. You know, one of the things I remember specifically about LeBron James, and he talked about how he was fresh out of high school. And for those of you who haven't really thought about it, you know, professional basketball players, they may practice for 3 or 4 hours a day. And then the rest of their time is their own. And so he had plenty of time as a professional basketball player, his first 3-4 years, to do everything the team asks him to do and still go to college parties that his friends were going to and still hang out with people, all of those kinds of things. But because he was locked in on trying to be the best player he could be, he did not opt in for those temporary pleasures. He chose to commit himself to his craft. Now, you know, I think in retrospect, 20 years into the game, I think he is realizing that he could have balanced that a little bit more. But I think the major point that I want you to hear is that he made decisions to be the excellent player that he is today. And by all accounts, he's made some pretty strong decisions around having healthy family relationships. Right? His high school friends are still his high school friends, and I think many of them are in business with him, working with him. His high school sweetheart is now his wife. I don't think that happens by accident. But I also know that his story says this, that what he experienced and what he had to observe his mom experience caused him to make some decisions about how he was going to go through life. And so validating this process, when you want to change, when you realize that what you have been dealing with has not been the healthiest for you, when you realize that what you are seeing on your app feeds, the Facebooks and the Instagrams and the TikToks and all of those kind of things that give a great imagery of wonderful life, when you realize that that may not actually be the truth, that may not actually be the they're not giving you a blueprint on how to get there. So learning how to continue to validate this process that you're going through, that you are trying to remove what is familiar and unhealthy to things that are initially unfamiliar but are taking you to a healthy place. You know, the easy example is you used to eat all fried food and now you are transitioning to baked. You know, I tease all the time. Years ago, I had my doctor tell me that I shouldn't eat any fried food. It was really actually fun. I was on the go. My job always had me on the road, and so I found myself oftentimes, eating fast food and eating out of vending machines, and when I went home, my favorite food was oftentimes fried food. And when I went home, oftentimes my favorite food was fried food. So I remember being at the doctor, and I'm young. I'm under 30. I'm like 26, 27, 28 kind of thing, and I'm not doing too bad in terms of my health. But in his counsel to me, he asked me, what were my eating habits, and I told him, and he said, "You're gonna head down a path you don't want to get down to, so you need to do this." He said, "If you've got to get it out of a vending machine, you shouldn't eat that." He said, "If you have to go through a drive-through to pick it up, you can't eat that." And he said, "If you have to get it out of a deep dish fryer, you shouldn't be eating that." And I literally said to the man, "Then what am I going to eat?" Because at that point in my life, that was all I was eating. Needless to say, were a whole lot of vegetables in there. And so what was familiar, what was comfortable, what tasted good to me, I had to begin to change my menu. And it was uncomfortable. And it was unfamiliar. But I can say 25 years later, I have increased my menu options. And I've developed an appetite for things that I never thought I would develop an appetite for. Now, the doctor I have today, one of the things I appreciate about him the most is he doesn't go to such a grave extreme. He says, hey, if you want a pizza, fried whatever, every now and again, it's okay. If you're getting something out of a vending machine every now and again, it's okay. But you want to be intentional about validating this process of eliminating those things as much as possible. The same thing holds true in relationships. In relationships, there are going to be some things that as you continue to get a better understanding on this concept of the frequency illusion, you'll begin to identify things in relationship that you are only gravitated to simply because they're familiar, not because they have any nutritional value to your relational life at all. And what will also begin to happen is your desire for those things will diminish over time. So now, I don't eat fried food a whole lot, but I eat a lot of air fried food that has no oil in it. Every now and again, I'll go back to some deep fried, and it doesn't taste good to me anymore. I don't like the greasiness of it. When I can get what I really like about the fried food was the crispiness and the seared flavors that were in the food. I'm getting hungry just talking about this. But what I've learned is I was able to make some slight adjustments, keep what was good, and get rid of what was hurting me. You're going to find the same thing in relationships. You're going to find that as you continue to identify the unhealthiness of your interactions with people, you're going to get rid of those. And not only will you get rid of them, you won't be able to tolerate them in the future. Now, that may mean some people will say, oh, you've changed. Yeah, I have. But that's okay. And the wonderful thing is when you can have a partner who's on the same journey to change their palate from a relationship standpoint as well, you both can change together. You both can be there for each other. And this just isn't in marriage. This can happen in workplaces. This can happen in nonprofit institutions. This can happen in school. It can happen in all kinds of places. But you want to begin to validate this process. And once again, I see it all the time. People will validate this process for education. I know people who love education would be in school all the time if they could. Some are. But they have learned to validate that process. I know people who work out and they've learned to validate that process to the point that they enjoy it. And I also know people who have learned to validate the process of strengthening relationships. I'm one of them. And I love that process. And I love being a part of helping people in that process. And I've gotten pretty good at identifying people who don't want to engage in that process. And so I do my best to try to introduce them to things that will give them a hunger for a new appetite for healthy relationships. Sometimes it doesn't work. Same thing that you will find in your personal relationships. As this frequency illusion, as you begin to see greater truths around relationship growth and development, you'll begin to understand why certain relationships become a little bit more distant and why certain relationships begin to get even stronger. And the one thing I love about it is that you won't feel like life is happening to you, but you will begin to feel like you have a say in the life that you're developing. See, when I've got a say in the life I'm developing, it's a whole lot easier for me to accept the process, to validate the process. When I feel like I have a say, when I feel like I have some control over how my life is going, it motivates me to embrace the process when there are moments and seasons of difficulty in the process. There's nothing in your life that as you are processing that doesn't have moments and seasons of difficulty, moments and seasons of struggle, moments and seasons where you think, is it worth it? Anything of real substance is going to have those moments that make you feel challenged. Same thing holds true in relationships. The key is, in your relationships, the two of you walk in agreement of what the relationship is supposed to produce. Are you on the same team? Are you playing by the same rules? It becomes so critical that you understand how important it is to agree so that you can walk together moving forward. And when you learn how to do that, you will find yourself wasting less and less time. And you will find your time becoming more and more productive, because as you continue to walk in truth and you continue to give yourself grace, the time will be something that you will actually embrace as you continue to grow and get better. One of the things that I love about having a physical fitness trainer is he will see my weak points that I can't even see. And then he'll give me the exercises to help me strengthen the places that I couldn't even see. The other funny thing about that is not only do I not see where my most critical weak places are, let's keep it in the physical, because oftentimes it's in your core. I had a trainer tell me one time, it is from here to your knees that is the most critical part. It's that core. If you learn how to discipline and train that core, that's half the battle. But can I tell you that I've learned how to dress in a way that you don't necessarily know when my core is not up to snuff. And that's the way a lot of us do in relationships. We know how to cover stuff up so that we look good, but we have no center core strength. We can't do any real heavy lifting as it relates to relationship. We can't deal with some of the tougher questions that often relationships require. So important that you are around people who will embrace that fight with you. It's the reason why I'm having these cohorts. 3 to 5 couples, 3 to 5 male, 3 to 5 female, where we can begin to help you validate your process as to how you show up in a healthy way and how you can identify that the relationships that you are in are healthy and moving you in a healthy direction. It is so critical in understanding that love is not a fantasy. Love is not a fairy tale. Love is absolutely formed. And you've got to begin to build the team around you that will help you form it properly. So with this episode, I hope that you hear how important it is to validate this process. And more importantly, I hope you understand how beneficial it'll be for you. There is no greater feeling than when you have embraced the process and you begin to see the healthy relationships flourishing all around you. You'd be amazed at what kind of people it'll attract to you. And miraculously, your picker will be fixed. But really what's happening is you are learning discipline and skill set that makes you attractive, and you will attract what you are developing. And so with that being said, I want you to understand that forever love is not a fantasy. Come on, say it with me. Forever love is formed. Thank you for clicking on the video. I'm Cal Cope. Won't you like and subscribe and enjoy the video?